Okay, can I get roll call, please, sir?
Counselor Blevins,
Here.
Counselor Dolzall,
Here.
Counselor Hill. Here. Counselor McElroy,
Here.
Counselor Metcalf,
Here.
Counselor Tenbush,
Here.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Here. Thank you very much for that. Okay, we are at the work session part of this, system development charges and waivers. I'll hand that off.
Okay, I'll just do a quick introduction for that. At your last meeting, it was called to our attention that there's not an opportunity to waive SDC charges for nonprofits, or for that matter, other businesses or anything we might want to be attracting to us to CADA. And that has been proposed as one way of attracting things that we want to come into town. So Counselor McElroy, I might just let you go ahead and lead the discussion on this. He had mentioned it'd be good to discuss it. Probably what it would turn into is if it's something that we want to look into further, we could kick it down to the next meeting where we have a goal setting session. And so we could set it as a goal to explore this year, but thought you might want to find out what everybody's interest was in that. So we provided some time this evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Different cities around the state of Oregon have different types of programs, not only waiving the entirety of SDC fees, but even a percentage of discount on SDC fees to see development of the type of projects that you're having a hard time attracting otherwise. Not saying that we should be doing on every single project, but I think that the city council should have the authority to be able to make that decision. If an employer with 500 jobs wants to come in and we need a way to try to sweeten it up for them, there's things that we would have the authority without having to go through the process later. Was my thought on it. And then same with like nonprofit groups. If the opportunity came for a YMCA to come into town with a pool that the community wanted, and they were looking for some assistance from the city to help make that happen, discounts on SDC fees might be one way that we could do that. I didn't see any other mechanisms for the city to be able to work with incentivizing development that we want to see here. So.
Any comments to that? No? I think we could push this for more information and look into this. And then have an open discussion. I think it deserves that kind of attention. If that would be okay for a future meeting.
Yeah, would you like to maybe add that on your agenda at goal setting
Yeah,
or?
why don't we put it into goal setting?
Okay.
That would be a good
Then we
idea.
could kind of line it out.
I think
Yeah.
I'd want to be really clear on that. I think there'd be the potential for misuse. I agree with you that I think that would be a really great resource for especially attracting new business and developing some of the upcoming stuff. That being said, though, I also think that there's other people in the town that would try to use this that it would benefit them, but it wouldn't necessarily benefit the community. So I would just want to be very clear that when we do this, it's something that's attracting new or that type of growth. I would just really like to see that very, very defined.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Responsible. It's good. Anybody else? No? All right.
So maybe like what kind of tools might we have or could
Yeah,
we
just give us a
develop?
format of, the kind of things that we could look at in that department.
Mhm,
Kind of see how it would work.
mhm.
Give us an example of some sort.
One thing I was talking with Laura about, that she enlightened me on is that oftentimes there'll be like a waiver of a system development charge or something that we can waive or a partial waiver. And then that gets budgeted through the general fund money would come out of the general fund to backfill that. So you're not shortchanging your infrastructure. So I think we need to look at what some other opportunities are and just, and then like figure out what kind of programs we'd want to incentivize. Like they just in Central Oregon, Redmond and Jefferson County and Culver, they just ran a grant program where they had put together funds through different agencies to attract a ranch and farm store over there. And so for us, it might be a different kind of store or different kind of a public benefit. But maybe John can help us with that talk too. And if everybody is kind of on the same page, that we should look into that, yeah.
And just to clarify for what I was proposing is just giving the council the authority to be able to make the decision at the time when those come up, rather than trying to rewrite all of the code for 435 different types of situations that it can apply to. is just giving the council the authority to be able to make that decision when the time comes. That's all.
Okay. Okay.
Not saying that it should be, because I think that if you start like defining it like that,
Mm,
you're gonna get a lot more people wanting to participate in that program.
mhm.
And I think it's gonna be a one-off situation that we want to just be able to have. My thought was being able to have the authority to do that if the council so wishes.
Yeah.
So,
So not like not a program that we're running all the time or we're recruiting or it's just the option.
yes,
I like that better than
Yeah.
Okay.
recurring program, yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
definitely.
Okay, so we got direction.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
bring it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the ballot measure update. Do you have that?
All right. Yes, I do. Laura's going to be getting me a more detailed list of what the process looks like. But what we talked about today is that she's going to put together an ordinance, or we'll get an ordinance together in February, March. We said February today, but I feel like that's racing up at us. So February, March, that would prohibit cannabis as an allowed use. And then that would refer it to the voters. And then if I remember right, it was the middle of July when the last current business in our park would renew their OLCC license. So we'd put together the ordinance to prohibit after they're all renewed, refer it to the voters in November. She'll bring a ballot measure in June or July because we need to get that presented to the county for our ballot measure by August 14th, but you have to provide time for objections. So we work in that earlier in the summer. So we make sure we have it ready. And then general election would be November 3rd, and we'd know which way the community wants to go on that. So that's kind of the plan. So the first time you'll be seeing something back on that, if she gets me something that's in more detail that I feel would be beneficial for y'all to read, I'll email that out to you. But other than that, we'll look for an ordinance to come back in February for you to review and possibly adopt.
Okay, great. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, we are at the first citizen and community group comment. I have none in front of me. Do I have any online? All right. All right. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm going to place a public safety concern on record. I directly asked an appointed official this weekend where they believed in shoot to kill authoritarianism. And after additional commentary, the response included with to answer your question, yes. I have this response in writing, which confirms the statement exactly as read. And given that response, I'm asking the council to clarify whether the city policies prioritize de-escalation, proportional response, and civilian safety, and whether this response from the appointed council member reflects the city policy or conflicts with it. And I understand you have contracts with the sheriff's department, but the sheriff's department is your contractor, and therefore I'm asking if you have a response to this.
I personally don't have one. I didn't even know this kind of question is, out of the ordinary here. Where are you from?
I'm from Oregon. I live in the state of Oregon.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the comment.
Well, yeah, I thank you for the comment, but we could craft a response and have that sent to you through our city manager and city staff. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I sent an email to the city manager this afternoon.
Okay.
I just thought it was, as a city council member, that would be something that they would keep to themselves personally, would not speak out to the public about that. I just found it kind of, anyway, I'll leave it at that. I just want to find out what the city's comment is about de-escalation, because there's a lot of things happening right on the public, and it's particularly in the Portland metro area. And I really like the city of Estacada. I live in Milwaukee myself, but I am a state taxpayer, and I'm looking to do investments in agriculture throughout the state. I'm putting together proposals and see Estacada as an area along the rivers that has great agricultural feasibilities.
Yeah, I appreciate your question. Like I said, we'll craft a response back to you and I'll have that sent out to you if that's okay.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
All right. No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions online? No? All right. Moving along. We are at the consent agenda. You've all had a chance to read over the consent agenda. Is there anything you'd like to move Or do you feel comfortable with it? And can I get a motion on the floor?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a first and second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, department and committee reports, city managers report.
All right, have a little slide deck to keep me on track. The first slide is, I put it together thinking it would be good, just good information. I want to kind of go over it just real quickly because thankfully it's in the past. It's like we've already done this escalation of population, but when I actually put the graph together, we've grown by 41% since 2020, which seems crazy, but no wonder we've been so busy.
Yeah, a little.
So I just wanted you to kind of see how the PSU numbers are coming out, and we're growing by 200 to 300 or 200 to maybe 200 to 400 people a year over the past few years. So it looks like it's going to continue.
Did
And
they
that-
show any information about their predictions going forward? That's updating all the mistakes they made
Mhm.
previously.
Yep.
Are the new numbers just as horrible as?
The
they were
new,
before?
their projections, I think, are very inaccurate. I can't remember what they were, but I think it was like 6,500 by 2030. We're going to be there before that. And then I can't remember what it was for 2050, but we'll probably be there by 2030. So their projections I'm not relying on, but I'm looking at this track that we're on and thinking it's probably pretty accurate to continue. We've been running around 80 to 110 single family residence permits, or we can look at the permit issued or the certificate of occupancy issued, and it's averaging 100 new homes a year over the past few years. So I think that's where
Since we use their numbers so frequently and we bring them to the table so
Mhm.
frequently, is there any way we can get more accurate with those numbers or get them to get on the ball as far as that's concerned?
Well, we did worked with
Because
them
we worked
last
with them
year.
once and we told them, hey, you're off. And
Mhm.
they argued the point. And now here we are again. These are newer numbers coming out
Mhm.
and they're still off. And when you look at all the money that is, allocated throughout the cities in Oregon, that puts us in a situation always being behind
Mhm.
in those numbers. So
Yeah, definitely. We will participate in their meetings for sure. I think these numbers are accurate now that they had adjusted the past few years. And I'm not sure when they're going to be doing a projection again, but we'll definitely participate in that because when they did this projection a couple of years ago or a few years ago, whenever it was, it's not accurate. Yeah.
all right, Jonathan.
Yeah, do we have any figures that would contrast like the population growth or the home permits that are coming through by say the interest rate going back up versus when it was
Mhm.
down? Because my fear is if what they're forecasting is participated, if we have a point even come off the interest rate, or a 1.5 at some point come off the interest rate in the next, say, 24 months,
Mhm.
you're going to see that number explode. And I think 100 homes could become 200 homes very, very quickly if we were to see that interest rate even start to move.
Mhm.
And then this prediction would be grossly negligent.
Yeah, well, this is
And-
their actual number. So I didn't put the prediction on there
I'm
yet,
sorry.
but
I
yeah,
just
but
meant like-
their prediction, yes,
Yes.
could be really, and which I do believe it's off already. So yeah, we could look at back when the interest rate was much lower, we didn't have as much growth going on. So it's kind of changed. I think interest rate or not, they're trying to continue to build. So and we do have quite a few lots that are coming ready for building right now.
Okay, Michael.
I'd like to be involved in that meeting with the
Yes,
PSU if
Yeah.
that's possible. And then I'd like, when we go to that meeting, to have the last 3 reports that they've issued, along with the real data showing how grossly negligent they are in their estimates. Because aren't we going to have to argue that every single year, our population, to get the right appropriations back from the distribution of money coming back from the state to the city?
Hopefully, we're not going to have to argue it, but we are willing to do so if I feel like this is a good estimate based on our housing units and such. And so if we do feel that it's not accurate, we can go back and we can appeal based on how they've calculated it. if they've missed some housing units or they're not including them, or they are having they look at the occupancy rate, like if there's empty houses, so it's unoccupancy rate. If that's too high, because typically there's not empty houses sitting around in Estacada right now. So they look at, we can adjust, we can push back. They only let us push back on how they calculate it. So we have to, Elena did a lot of work last year, trying to prove to them what we were saying our population actually was. But we could definitely keep you all informed, have you involved in that, and
Yeah,
stay on
definitely.
top of that.
So is that 6232, is that an actual number? Or is
That's
that-
the number that's there.
Or the projection?
Nope, that's the actual number. They say as of July 1st, so we're higher than that now, I'm sure.
So what
yeah.
I'm really interested to see now, year to date or whatever,
Mhm.
of what the actual is versus what the projection was. Is feeding it exactly what Councilman McElroy was talking about. But also, I would also like to see, and I think we talked about this, there's like 11 or 12 subdivisions on the books. And I know there's a process of getting approved, and then they do the plots or however that works. But, how many of those homes are projected to be built in 26? How many in 27? And kind of that might help us with our financial planning going forward. And then I agree with Jonathan that if the rates go down, which is real possible, it could pop.
I'll see if there's a way we can estimate. We know how many lots have been approved, and we can see how close they're getting, especially Coyote Ridge and Bonnie Meadows. Bonnie Meadows is getting ready. They're ready to build. And we've been sending, like every month, Mads will send out to us how many building permits were applied for, so we can kind of keep tracking with that also. So I'm not sure exactly how we would estimate how many they plan to build, but we could reach out to builders or something like that to see if they have a plan for a number to build, but.
Okay, Jerry?
I really like the idea of having Counselor McElroy in the meeting with PSU just because of the different perspective that he brings to the table. So I think that's a great suggestion, and I hope that he's involved in that.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Questions pertaining to that?
Okay, next slide. I have a quick little update on the wastewater facility. I have just a few pictures to share because we got some drone footage from the contractor. The progress is right on track. I put on here, we're almost through with the dig out, but then Elena's like, I don't know, maybe I thought they had said we're getting close. And I look at that pile of dirt behind that Wade Creek Park. And I know that most of these so I think we're getting through all the digging that's happened, the underground part, which is also a lot of uncertainty because you never know what you're going to find when you're digging underground. Anyway, so that's moving right along, and our electrical gear, which is one of our long lead times, is coming in sooner than we thought. Should be here Q1, and our electrician is going to be storing that for us in a nice, safe, dry place. But I just wanted to kind of go through a couple. I think the next one is a video. Maybe it might be, yep, it's a little video, which is so you can kind of see from and we were trying to post some of these on our social media so people could keep track. And lately we haven't been posting as many, but just kind of shows you like what the area looks like, proximity to the river. It's a different view. Next, just another overhead shot, then kind of down. So when in that big rectangular hole they're digging, this is the forms they're building up, and we'll pour concrete. And the next slide, same thing. And then on to water plant update. So just a few images to share.
All right.
All right, and then water treatment plant improvements, quick update on this. The contract for design and engineering was in the consent agenda tonight that you had reviewed and approved that through the consent agenda. The RFP for the membranes to pre-purchase, because they're a long lead item, so that RFP is out. It looks like we're going to do an extension. So instead of the end of January, it'll be due the first week of February. And we have 5 different companies or manufacturers who are interested, who are on the list so far with Kerr and McLeod. And so that's good. We'll have some good options to look at and bring back our recommendation to you at the end of February. So I wrote on here, Paul, Westech and Memcor had all responded. No, we have two more. I'm not sure what their names are, but we think they're all going to submit proposals. So that will be great. We're getting off to a good start. And then next, the Eagle Creek Pump Station has been delayed. We do have confirmation the contractor has fully defaulted on that, which has not ever happened. In my experience here. So we had to pursue their bonding company through their bond. And the bonding company right now is working with Kurt at Curran McLeod. They'll be soliciting prices for what it would take to build the rest of the pump station out. We had hoped to have it done by the end of the summer. So it's challenging. We want to keep it moving forward because there's going to be houses starting to be built that are going to need this pump station. Anyway, so the bonding company will figure out how much, by getting these price quotes from different general contractors, how much is remaining to do price wise, and then they'll pay a lump sum to the city that will include the liquidated damages that we have in the contract for every day that it's late past the substantial completion. And then at your next meeting, I was talking with Kurt and Laura today. Looks like we'll do a special procurement process, so we don't have to put it out to bid again, because this is we're almost in an emergency situation to get this done. So rather than emergency procurement, we'll do a special procurement, and Laura and Kurt will walk us through that. So we are moving it forward, but it is disappointing, and it's kind of surprising that a contractor would it hasn't happened to us before. So yes,
Are they going to be soliciting the contractors as well, or are they just getting prices?
they are just getting prices.
Have we already started looking for contractors?
There is a contractor that was already working on the project and probably continuing to use all the subs that had been lined up to do the project. So they are, if you want me to shoot a name over to Kurt that he can get to the bond company, I can do that. But they do have a list of people they can solicit from that would be interested in it. So it's.
I was just thinking something we could get tidied up while we're waiting to hear back from the bond company so that we're ready to go.
Yes.
Are we waiting on a response from the settlement to be able to move forward with the work, or we moving forward with the work and then they're going to pay us back?
They're gonna, as soon as we can get the contractor, we'll start the work. I don't know how long it will take them to cut the city a check. We can roll that though. So we'll get started working as soon as we can. And then I'm guessing as fast as this bond process is moving through that they will, send that check to the city right away to pay for the remainder of it. And we did have contingency also that we had withheld. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't have all the numbers lined out for you, but I know that Kurt is pleased that the bond company is responding as fast as they are. And him and Don have been meeting with somebody from that company.
That's the email that you had sent with the attachment, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Well, that was related to it. The email with the attachment was one of the subcontractors, because the original contractor had stopped paying their subs. And so, the bond company is working on figuring out who needs to be paid. And so it's unfortunately messy and surprising that a contractor seems like regionally here is a small area and you wouldn't want your name tied to something like that. But for some reason, that is what is happening. So, just wanted to keep you informed, because you will have the special procurement process that'll be coming at your next meeting.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And the next, so these pictures go back to our huge rain event in December. It's all kind of blurring together, the wind, the rain, the power outage. But on the right, I got these pictures kind of backwards, but on the right-hand side, you can see a pile of debris that was pulled off of the grate this is the Wade Creek outfall at Wade Creek Park. So thank you very much to Marcos and Scott who were out there. Then Don and Mitch ended up coming out, but Marcos and Scott got the backhoe, had to pull the grate, which was it was designed to be lifted up out of the way if it needed to be lifted up. But there was so much water going through that night. They felt if they tried to lift it up, it would have slipped down in and blocked it even further. And they went, so they yanked the grate off with the backhoe. And you can see then in the middle picture, the water, this is the next day, the water just pouring over there. But thank you to their quick action and Don's okay to, yes, go ahead and do that because there was just so much water that night. It was backing up in this. If you were driving around, I don't know if you came out and drove around 6th Street, had to be closed because there was shin deep water out there by Granny's in that kind of area. So anyway, Don he had a manufactured a new grate that will work where they can just slide it up and it won't fall down in if they try to take it off. So this was our first test run of our new design of that grate. It didn't work well. Now we got a new one. I think Don's got it figured out. Probably from his experience better than the folks that designed it the first time. So, but it was disaster averted. So I'm thankful to the guys for being out throughout that whole night, keeping an eye on things. And anyway, okay. And I think that's my last slide. Yep. Any other questions?
Any questions? No, thank you for all
All
the
right.
information. That
Yeah,
was
thank you.
very informative. All right,
Okay.
next we have committee and commission reports. Did anybody have one from their committee or commissions?
Traffic and public safety is just knocking it out of the park. They got so much stuff going on. And then with this possibly new fire department we have going in, or fire station addition, it's gonna put more on their plate because we're gonna have to do some serious figuring out on how to redirect the traffic that typically uses Curran, which is a lot of traffic. So yeah.
Okay. All right, John, South. Yes.
Well, actually, it's a committee, but it's not here. It's with the state. I haven't really announced it publicly-ish. I talked to Melanie about it. She said I should probably bring it up. So if you guys are familiar with LOC, that's League of Oregon Cities, I was accepted to join the committee as the lead rep of the Women's Caucus of LOC for the new committee. It's telecommunications, cybersecurity, and AI policy. I'm pretty stoked. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. That'll be in March. I'll still be here, but yes. Yeah, thank you.
I got a chance to go with the Economic Development Committee to take a tour of the CTE program at Estacada High School and see what they're able to do with that program. They gutted out the old wood shop and cleaned up that whole area. And then they've hired got to meet Aaron. They've got a dedicated person in charge of building the CTE program at Estacada High School. It's not like a secondary mission. It's her primary purpose is to develop that CTE program there. And they're doing an amazing job with the facilities that they have there. But at some point, the community is just there. We just got to find a better way to communicate this bond and get these kids into a decent setup, because they're not going to be able to compete with the schools that have real CTE. I'm not saying that it's not, I said, take that back. The facilities that have financially supported CTE programs and state-of-the-art facilities and the new technologies, I think our kids are going to be at a disadvantage if we don't step up to the plate and give them an opportunity to be learning at the same level as other facilities. But the program that they have going on there is they hired an electrical engineer that's going to be doing courses on electrical engineering, and they had all kind of, I'm lost when it comes to electrical stuff. So, but it all looked really fancy and it's great. And then they're looking for opportunities for, getting some materials. Kids are going to be wiring up lights and wiring up sockets and stuff that they can, real life situation stuff that they'll be able to use for the rest of their life. I'm just excited about the program, and the gal that's heading that up is just fired up about it. So Ryan's really excited, but be looking for opportunities where we can help them in any way to get that program going, and hopefully put the word out for the bond the next time that goes out to help these kids get a new facility. My kids will probably never be able to enjoy it, but I'd be happy to pay the extra money to see my grandkids be able to enjoy a nice facility where they're able to go to school in September and not be roasting out and having to take virtual days because they don't have air conditioning that works. I mean, it's just like, it's really sad state of affairs at the age of those schools that we're not stepping up to help them. So.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Jerry.
Yeah, both the Arts Commission and Downtown Estacada Commission, they just basically recapped their year. The Downtown Estacada Commission just had another successful tree lighting ceremony, what turned out really nice. The Downtown Estacada Commission also decided to take a step back on the Oregon Main Street program. They were at the level that we were at. It was just requiring more involvement than what the committee could accommodate at the time. And stepping back also puts less stress on staff. So with the idea to step back now was to get a person on board that would basically take over the Oregon Main Street program requirements, and then the goal to make that separate from the city, which is the goal for the Oregon Main Street program anyway, to have it be a separate entity from the city. So that's that's the idea of stepping back. But they just recapped both committees just recapped a very successful year with some great events and a lot of community involvement. So they did talk about volunteerism, which is, something that every committee needs, and something that, I've asked Andy on city staff to, really make that its own separate thing from, any social media post. Just get the word out about volunteerism, because we need volunteers at every event so that the committees aren't the volunteers for their events. They can actually be there to make those events the best that they can be, rather than having to man a station. And then we also need volunteers to fill our committees and commissions. So I asked Andy to make more posts on more social media posts, make it like I said, separate from any other post, because volunteerism is huge. With the amount of people that have, the amount of growth that we've had, volunteerism is at a low, and we need to turn that around somehow. So, just getting the word out, that we have openings on our city commissions and committees, and then also, had an idea of, on the website, all of the city's events, having a volunteer tab on the website to where the volunteer can just select, I want to volunteer, pick what event they want to volunteer for, and then pick a time slot that they can volunteer for. And Andy seems to think that our current website can do that. So that's something to build towards, because that's a huge way to, get more people involved, because they can look
Easier.
at it and be like, okay, I don't have to volunteer for the whole day. I can volunteer for this 2-hour slot. I can volunteer for a 4-hour block, something like that. So, just moving forward with that. I know that's, like I said, volunteerism is one thing that every committee and commission is in need of. So, it's one thing we talked about. So, and then of course the recap for the year, and looking forward to the next year.
All right, appreciate that. Well said, my friend. All right. And that's all we have tonight on that. So I will now close the city council and open a public hearing. And the public hearing, the first thing we have, I will now close the city council meeting and open the public hearing on annexation 2025-02, and annexation for 30405 Southeast River Mill Road. And I will hand that off to you, my friend.
Great, thank you. Taryn, could you elevate me to a panelist? Thanks. All right, now I can share my screen. Let's see. All right, I will present Planning Commission's report and recommendation for this annexation application 2025-02-NX. And so our applicants are Neil and Tamara Davis at this address. Happens to be the same address that of the property that is being requested to annex. That's the tax lot number there. The current zoning in the county is rural residential farm forest 5 acre or RRFF 5. And the comprehensive plan designation is light industrial. And the proposal is essentially to annex a just under 10 acre lot into Estacada city limits. No change to the comp plan designation of M1 is requested in the application, and no development or land division is proposed at this time. And our department received comments from the city engineer and the fire marshal. Okay, here's the subject site. It's an aerial shot from 2024. Let's see if we can't really zoom in, but so it's the parcel outlined in blue. It's developed with one single family home on the southwest corner of the site. It's River Mill Drive bordering the bottom there. We have a RV park to the east, highway further to the east, and then Timber Park to the south. All right, so we'll go through the approval criteria. It's these two chapters in the Estacada Municipal Code apply to this application. But first, we'll go through the zone changes chapter. Okay, there are 5 criteria here, and I'll just go through this really quick. Application has to be consistent with the comp plan. Public services must be available to the lot in question. Transportation system must be adequate. Application must be consistent with the Oregon Highway Plan, and the transportation system must also be adequately safe. And in our assessment, we've determined that all 5 of these are met or can be met or are not applicable at this time. And so this chapter on zone changes is met. So moving on to EMC 16.124 on annexations. 2 basic criteria must be met for an annexation proposal to be valid. And first, down here at the bottom, the site must be located within the Estacada UGB or urban growth boundary. And as you can see by the map, the red dashed line off to the left there, that is the urban growth boundary. Everything that's colored is within that boundary, and we can see that the property in question is inside the UGB. The second criteria is that the site must be contiguous to existing city limits. And so from this screenshot from Clackamas Maps, the white properties are in the county and the ones that are grayed out are within the city. And so you can see that the property outlined in blue is contiguous with Estacada city limits. All right, and so there are 3 other relevant criteria in this chapter. And the first one is that the proposed use for the site complies with the Estacada Comprehensive Plan and with the designation on the Estacada Comprehensive Plan map. Second is that adequate capacity for urban services exists or can be made available within 3 years of the annexation approval. And the third is that findings documenting the availability of police, fire, park, and school facilities and services shall be made to allow for the conclusionary findings either for or against the proposed annexation. Okay, I'll briefly go over each one to discuss how this application meets the standards. So for the first one, the applicant proposes to zone the property according to the adopted comp plan designation, light industrial. So this criterion is met. For the second, the city engineer confirms that all city infrastructure and services will support future development of this lot. So that's wastewater treatment, water, electrical, and such. And the third, about findings. So Estacada School District and Fire did not submit concerns with this application. Police services will continue to be provided by Clackamas County Sheriff. And parks are available. There's Wade Creek Park, Campanella Park, both nearby with Timber Park right across the street. And so we find that the criteria in this chapter are also met. And so the planning commission recommends approval of this annexation application subject to 4 conditions of approval, and I'll just go over those briefly now. So the first simply specifies the delineation of the property to be annexed. And so just this description here. And it's based on this map. So this map was given preliminary approval by the Department of Revenue, which ultimately must approve the map and legal description. So those are already pre-approved. And here are the last 3 recommended conditions of approval. The first is that a waiver of remonstrance against the future right-of-way dedication or right-of-way improvements. The existing single-family home may continue as a non-conforming use, subject to criteria in the condition. And finally, the city will adopt an ordinance to finalize the annexation and update the official comp plan and zoning maps. All right, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions. If the applicant wants to address council, they can do that at that time. We can hear any public testimony about the application, and then we'll be looking for a decision.
Okay, I'm gonna read a few things here,
Thanks.
if I may. I'm gonna read a statement about evidence presented at the hearing. An issue which may be the basis for appeal to LUBA must be raised prior to the close of the record at the final eventuary hearing on the specific application. Such issue shall be raised with sufficient specificity so as to afford LUBA and the parties an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. Failure of an issue to be raised at the hearing or in person or by letter, or failure to provide sufficient specificity to afford LUBA and the parties an adequate opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to LUBA on that issue. Okay, would the applicant please come up to does the applicant want to speak? Okay, yeah, step up to the microphone here. And the counselors, if any of you have any questions? Okay.
So I don't know if this is the time for, getting, letters out to the neighbors, or if that happens upon, planned development, when they actually plan to develop the property, is that something that happens at this point, or is that something that happens when they decide how they're gonna develop the property?
Both. So this application, neighbors within, or property owners, property owners within 100 feet of the property were notified. And also there was the notice in the paper. So that's for the annexation. And then if, down the line, if the owners decide to subdivide or partition the property, that would be another set of notifications.
Okay, I just know that, every time that there's anything involved with that area, we always get a pretty big outpouring from the folks down on Farmstead Road.
Mhm.
So did we receive anything from any of the neighbors?
We've not received any, no, I don't believe we've received any correspondence about that.
Okay.
Okay, council, any questions you have for the applicant?
Yeah, what are the chances this will be developed before our new sewer system or our new wastewater treatment plant is finished?
I think you said it would be 2 to 3 years that you could adequately address our property. But we don't have a plan to change the property. We're just looking ahead at our options. We have more options going into the city, and you've already designated us M1. And we also already have a city easement on our property, which prevented us from doing some things on our property. And we have more options being in the city than being zone RR FF5.
I appreciate your transparency. My question is just simply that, what were the chances of it being developed before that was done? That's just where my mind goes. For the ease of conversation, if you want to know where my mind goes, is the backfill of this room when they think yet again we're blasting more development
Yeah.
with no conversation had, right? So I'm just simply asking what those chances
No,
were.
we've already been designated M1 by the city. So that's what we're going with.
Thank you.
So Councilor Metcalf, if I may read you a section of the city engineer's report. In summary, the water and wastewater systems are both in the process of expansion and anticipated to be completed in the next 2 years with capacity to serve any proposed development of the annexation property.
Just one quick question. Will that be able to be developed with half street improvements with it being in the M1, or is it gonna have to wait till the other parcel cells?
So Half Street improvements would be required at the time of land division.
Okay.
And, yeah, I mean, usually the city does go ahead and require those. Applicants can request, a delayed site improvement agreement be signed. Yeah, it depends on the circumstances. So, yeah.
I'm excited to see the connection down to River Mill, so.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? No, pretty good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, we have any speaker request forms or anything on this? No? All right. I'm gonna close. Oh, for this particular thing?
You're gonna sit down and do it the right way. That's fair. You can.
Okay, then put all this extra traffic on River Mill Road again. Are we going to get the stoplight in that we were supposed to get when the industrial area was built?
Jerry, I'll let you speak to that.
So at this point, as they said, there's no plan for development of the property at this point. So there's no extra burden of traffic on River Mill Road because there's no plan for development at this point. So
How about all the houses that are being built there right now? That's putting traffic on River Mill Road and 224.
there's no houses being built on River Mill Road other than up at the top.
Yeah.
So that doesn't pertain to this particular public hearing.
We have a roundabout
Okay.
that'll be coming into that area.
There's no speaker sheets over there either.
Oh, okay, we'll get you some out. Thank you. All right. That said, I think we finished with that. I don't see any other forms. So I will now close the public hearing and reopen the city council. And if I could get a vote on the floor? No? Okay. John? You want to put up a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second that.
First and second, let's do a roll call on this, please.
Counselor Blevins,
Yes.
Counselor Dolzall,
Yes.
Counselor Hill,
Yes.
Counselor McElroy,
I'm gonna abstain from voting on that.
Counselor Metcalf,
Yes.
Counselor Tenbush,
Yes.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Yes, thank you very much.
Motion passes.
All right. Now I will close the city council and reopen the public hearing on ordinance 2025-013. And I will let you speak to that as well.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Call it up. All right, so now I will present Planning Commission's recommendation for ordinance 2025-013. So this is phase one of the Development Code Update project. All right, a little bit of background. So in January, council identified updating the development code as a primary goal. And so staff drafted an RFP to procure planning help for the Development Code Update project. And then in March, Winterbrook Planning was awarded the contract to draft the Code Audit Diagnostic Report, which was completed in June. And the report provides a comprehensive evaluation of the development code, focusing on compliance with state laws, clarity and objectivity for approvals of residential development, administrative efficiency, and policy alignment with community goals. So Winterbrook Planning recommended tackling code amendments in 3 stages: phase 1, phase 2, and future phases. This past August, Winterbrook presented a summary of the Code Audit Diagnostic Report to council. And in the following months, staff drafted amendments to the development code according to the recommendations of the diagnostic report. So this ordinance tonight comprises phase 1 of the Development Code Update project. And just last Thursday, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the ordinance. So in a nutshell, this proposal would amend 30 chapters of Title 16. And the amendments include implementation of state mandated standards, administrative and organizational improvements, and revisions for consistency and comprehensibility. So basically maintenance items. Also, if there are any questions about any of the specific sections of the draft amendments, I'm happy to discuss any of those after the presentation. All right, so we'll go on to the approval criteria. So in order for council to adopt this ordinance, which involves amending the city's development code, all relevant approval criteria must be met. Relevant approval criteria in this case includes the Oregon statewide planning goals, Estacadet's comprehensive plan goals, and the development code. So we'll start with chapter 16.128 of the development code. So there's 4 sections in this section, and here's the first. Legislative amendments may be initiated only by planning commission or city council. And these amendments were initiated by council, so this criterion is met. And the second here are that planning commission makes a recommendation to the city council upon completion of a public hearing. That's what's happening right now. And then the commission and council adopt findings to establish that the legislative amendment will not conflict with provisions of Title 16 of the comp plan. And then a legislative amendment may be made by council after the planning commission recommendation and after a public hearing. And so these criteria are being met right now. And so about findings, findings shall be made in writing and shall be made public, and they shall be consistent and in conformance with applicable regulations of the municipal code and the comprehensive plan. These criteria will also be met. And finally, no application for an amendment to Title 16 shall be considered by Planning Commission within a 1-year period immediately following a previous denial of a request or a substantially similar request. And no similar amendment has been proposed and then denied in the past year, so this criterion is met. And now we can move to discussing the statewide planning and comp plan goals. Okay. So the city published information about this hearing in the local paper and in the city website, and also sent notice to the state planning agency, the DLCD, and is following all other pertinent land use laws related to public hearings. So these procedural goals are being met. So most state and comprehensive plan goals don't apply to these amendments. Here's a list of all those. And that's basically because these amendments are just maintenance items and don't really deal with any kind of policy or content issues. However, there are 2 statewide planning goals and 2 comp plan chapters related to the content of these amendments, and they're here. So they have to do with natural resources, water quality, etc. And so this ordinance includes an amendment to EMC 16.16.040, the section that outlines development standards in the R1 zone. And the amendment would extend North City residential zone protections related to Kern Creek to the R1 zone. And so by expanding protections for the city's water resources, this ordinance supports these statewide planning goals and comp plan chapters. And so the Planning Commission recommends approval of this ordinance without any conditions of approval. And that is my presentation.
Okay.
And again,
I'll read a-
questions, testimony?
I'll now read a statement. Statement about evidence presented at the hearing, an issue which may be the basis for an appeal to LUBA must be raised prior to the close of the record at the final eventuary hearing on the specific application. Such issue shall be raised with sufficient specificity so as to afford LUBA and the parties an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. Failure of an issue to be raised at the hearing or in person or by letter, failure to provide sufficient specificity to afford LUBA and the parties an adequate opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to LUBA on that issue. Does any member of the audience wish to speak on this? I'm not seeing any hands, so I assume not. At this time, I will now close the public hearing and reopen the city council. And can I get a motion on the floor, please?
I got questions.
All right, questions first.
So this was a pretty thick packet, and so going through this stuff was really something. And the one part where it lists out the code and it's got the changes and all that stuff. And then there was another item in between. And then there's another section, the Estacaded Development Ordinance Code Audit Report or something like that, that came from the contractor.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
so I went through this report, or the code portion of it, and specifically, it's page 241 in the packet, but it's page 77 of the section. And if you take a look, what caught my eye, it has to do with I think parking for dwellings or the different types of, it's amendment 16 dash or dot 76.010.
Okay, yeah, let me find it.
But it's page 77 of that packet and
Oh,
it's,
there we go.
okay.
70, right, the table?
Yeah, where
Yep.
it's listing the different types.
Yep.
Okay, so under dwellings and what caught my eye is multifamily and cottage clusters, one for each unit. So I read that to be like if there's one cluster home, then you have to have one parking spot. And I just thought, well, how many families have one car? Most have two. So I looked it up. And the most recent US Census Bureau and Pew study shows that 37% of households have 2 cars and 22% have 3+ cars. And so you're looking at 59% of households in the US have 2 or more cars, whatever that number is. We're not even talking about, Super Duties or anything like that, the big trucks that we have all over the place around here. And 33% have 1 car and 0% have, according to the same data, 0% of the homes have, or rather 8% have 0 cars. So only 8%. And I just thought that didn't make a lot of sense to me. If you're putting a lot of homes into a tight space, where are they going to park? Especially if by whatever these say, they only need to have one. And again, I think about the apartments they were talking about across the way where it's 99 units and 99 parking spaces. And so then I looked on page 79, and section 4 about apartments specifically. And it talks about being able to use street parking, and being able to take away the number of spaces they have to have if they've got available street parking. And then over on page 84, that was a different thing. So that was just the parking. And I'm not looking for answers right now because this section kind of squashed that. And then I went over to page 84, which was it was page 248 in the packet. And this actually relates to something we were talking about earlier, where it scratches out school consideration, item 5. It says, school considerations shall include a detailed statement of the impact of the proposed development upon the school enrollment within the school district and the ability of the schools to assimilate the students from the proposed development. That's barked out. So the impact on schools isn't included. And I'm thinking that doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're talking about being, hundreds, if not 1,000 homes coming up. But then I looked to this section, and specifically page 267 in the packet, page 5 in this section. And we've known this, we've mentioned it to the public before, but it's right here. Beginning in 2017, the Oregon State Legislature passed a series of bills to encourage efforts to expand the supply of housing statewide. The passage of Senate Bill 1051 prohibited cities from denying applications for housing developments. Furthermore, I mean, there's more to it, but may not have the effect either in themselves or cumulatively of discouraging needed housing through unreasonable cost or delay, which is whatever they say. These provisions prohibit application of typical discretionary standards. That's the school thing. So you can't count the impact on schools on whether or not you're going to approve a subdivision. And then I skipped, I won't go into these two. It had to do with housing needs in the downtown zone in I think it's mixed or the mill something site. And then the last page was and this is from the contractor, it says, land division standards currently require applicants to include statements on impacts to schools and the fire district. Remove these references in compliance with state law. And then the potential actions, it lists what the state laws are. And so after spending all that time reading all that code stuff and applying it to what I see in my neighborhood and what I hear about in my city, and then the state says, "Boop." And so we can't do a thing about it because they call it, what do they call it? Unreasonable, blah, blah, blah. And it just irritated me. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so when, people get, they get angry about all this growth and stuff like that. And, we're trying, but, there's not many instances where we can do anything. And so, no, I don't need a response from you. Thank you. Just, once I read that second part, that was it.
Yeah, as you were listing them all, I was just gonna read you this section. Like, one of the things that we address is state mandated legally required code updates, including clear and objective standards for residential development. So that's all the things that you listed, state mandated.
We do, I could just add, we do try to encourage folks, like I was talking to somebody recently about, they wanted to maybe do a cottage cluster and they had room for parking and I said, that's great that you have the parking because it would really be needed. He's like, yeah, well, where else would they park? I'm like, well, we can't require you to put in as much as you're right. And he's like, well, it only makes sense to do it. So it's great when developers realize that most people out here especially have to have cars to get around and we'll take that into consideration. So we can't require it, but we can certainly suggest it, that it's going to make our community function better. So it works sometimes.
Is it that
Go ahead.
is that we can't require it with the current code, or are you saying state law bars us from requiring it?
State law bars us from requiring as much as we would like to require.
Donovan, have something you want to add?
Well, I was just wondering, don't we have more authority within our state than the state does?
We could
Within
fight
our city, we could absolutely
We
fight
sure
this.
fight it.
As
We can
long
have a
as-
voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think we we just roll over and say good boy to the state anymore.
Yeah.
I think that there's enough mixed stuff going on.
House
And there's
rules.
enough turmoil, if you will, and between, I would say, just inappropriate regulation and litigation going on, we would be able to make an argument to defend our community in this sense.
Sure.
You're asking us to burden our taxpayers, to burden our structure, to burden our infrastructures. But with no help, no aid, no nothing. Just take it and destroy it. And at some point, somebody's got to have rigidity and have a spine.
Yeah.
So to Councilman Dolz's point, I don't know that we don't have an option. I would say that this conversation should be continued and we look at all of our options.
I'm with you on that. I think, sitting here saying that we don't have an option, that we have to accept everything thrown down to us by the state of Oregon is ridiculous. We were voted in by the people, for the people, and it will remain that way. So until they take us and replace us with somebody else. But until then, we'll protect everybody's rights. And state mandated or not, we can always fight back. So remember that. You're not stuck in a corner. You're not trapped. You can have a voice and you should. So that's it. We'll move on to this.
All right.
And if we get in that position, we'll look at this again. So that said, you've heard everything on this tonight. So we're at the voting time. So I will put a motion on the floor to accept or deny.
I move to approve ordinance 2025-013, an ordinance amending Title 16 Development of the Estacada Municipal Code Update Phase 1. And just remember that this is just Phase 1.
My second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Let's do a roll call on this one as well.
Counselor Blevins,
Yes.
Counselor Dolzall,
Yes.
Counselor Hill,
Yes.
Counselor McElroy,
Yes.
Counselor Metcalf,
Yes.
Counselor Tenbush,
Yes.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Yes. And now
No.
this said, keep your eye on the ball. You do have a voice, and I expect to hear that voice when this comes time. Okay? Melissa.
House rules, all I gotta say.
Yeah.
House rule would be your legal apparatus.
That's it.
Yes.
All right.
All right, thank you all.
Yep. Okay, moving along, we are at council business. We have elected a new council president. Jerry's been the last year. He's done a great job. He got feet on the ground real quick and in a hurry this last holiday season, which I hated to miss it all, but you know, that comes that time in your life when it seems like every medical issue you're ever going to have happens. So I got through it in one piece and I'm on the other side, but I want to thank Jerry for stepping up to the plate. He did a great job. Now, that said, it's time to elect somebody for the next session. Do we have any nominations on the floor?
I elect Jonathan Metcalf.
Jonathan, do you accept that nomination or not?
Do I get a choice?
Yeah, you have a choice.
Absolutely. do.
Everybody's got choices.
Sure.
Okay, so you accept the choice, so we'll go to the first one. Jonathan Metcalf. Do I have a vote on the floor?
Need a second.
I need a second now.
I second.
Okay, I have a first and second. All those in favor, say aye.
I.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
That
You're
guy
it.
too.
Yeah, they're even screaming outside there, Johnson.
Yeah,
It's a sign.
So,
Artie.
all right,
Let's go.
I've already got protesters out there for you.
Perfect.
all
Can I
right.
make my first speak?
All right, that's done. Are we good with that? All right. Next, we are on the second consideration for ordinance 2025-010, an ordinance amending Title 16 development of the Estacada Municipal Code.
I move to approve the ordinance 2025-010, an ordinance amending Title 16 development of the Estacada Municipal Code, amending NCR zone.
Okay, I have a first,
Second.
second. All those in favor say?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Citizen and community group comments. I have no forms in front of me. Any online? Okay, thank you for that. Mayor and council reports and comments. Let's start off with you, Matthew, on the far end.
I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. It was quite a bit to go over. Wish we had a day or two longer to go through this. But I think we got through it relatively pain-free. I do agree with Jonathan when it comes to the fact that, well, I don't know if this is the fact he was attempting to make, but I do not believe that our state has our city in its best interest. And it's going to take us to fight back and to fight for what is right for our city. So just like to leave it at that.
It's with a great level of frustration that I read through that stuff, and I concur. Don't think for a second that I think that we can't do something regarding some kind of state guideline or whatever it is that we think isn't appropriate for our city. Balanced with the fact that we need to be responsible and minimizing exposing ourselves to any kind of legal issues or something like that. I'd much rather spend the money on things for this community instead of, no offense, but lawyer fees or something like that for something that we might easily be able to work around or whatever. So so I guess that's it. I mean, I don't need to get windy on this one. I feel it's my duty to read this stuff with a magnifying glass and find this kind of stuff and then do what we do. And I do appreciate this group very much. It's a very good group to work with.
I count on your reading skills all the time, John. You do a great job and you find these things. You're great at it. So thank you for that, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I always love seeing people in the audience. I'm not so thankful to the council for their vote on the president thing, but I will do my best for you on that. I just want to encourage everybody, especially our business owners in the community that have been struggling with DEQ, to reach out. You can reach out to me personally. I've been working with Senator Drazen to address these issues of overreach. And I would love to see the community begin to start to ask questions. If we're going to be held to a standard by the state, say, from DEQ on our drinking water and the things that affect us, it would be great to know what their plan is to do about the sticks that are in the river currently and about the silt that runs off the hills and down into our drinking water above where we have paralysis or control measures. So I would just like people to start asking these questions with us, because you're not alone in this, to your state representatives and to your senators and to those that are making the choices. And if you are one of those businesses, especially within our industrial area that dealt with that this summer, I know there's quite a few of you, I would love to speak with you offline and gather some of your material and your interactions with the DEQ as we investigate this further. And Senator Drazen is helping us to mitigate some of the harassment. I would love to see an apology issued as well to our community and our business leaders within our community for their overreach and their harassment from the DEQ and those that are litigating our people unrighteously, to be honest with you. More than that, I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody. And I want to just tell you how proud I am to be from this city. I walk around this city every morning, Ruckin, or I walk around during the day sometime, and I can tell you that there's a level of pride in this community, and I love it. I love being from here. I love seeing people take care of each other. I love people being able to put aside their differences for the most part, minus when they're brazen online with their strong fingers that they lift in the gym all the time, typing on their phones. But outside of that, this community is one that has each other's back, and they are strong, and they can overcome differences of opinion and differences of viewpoints and religious beliefs and political and all that. And I'm very, very proud to be from a strong community. So I just want to say thank you guys for being a part of that. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent you for that.
I'm going to piggyback off that for a second. I am very proud too. And recent events, I've gone to a few dinners lately, and our town is on the map. I hear a lot about us from a lot of other representatives, and that's kind of nice. Call me biased, I don't care about that. Sorry, probably wrong choice of words, but I love our town and I love our people. And there are really great things being said about us because of how well we get along. And why I say that is because I have taken a stab at looking at other councils in their meetings, and we're pretty lucky. We get along. We're like brothers and sisters, I think, is the way to go about saying that. But I've come to learn that each of us have our own things that we individually bring to the table, and it's pretty remarkable. And I'm very thankful. And this year is a very big year because there's a lot of opportunity. It's a vote year. Preliminaries are coming up, and this year's the year for us. That's all I got to say. And thank you to city staff always. You guys are pretty awesome and very, very prompt, I got to say. And sorry, Melanie, I don't put you on the face front, but your name goes around too. You're very acknowledged. And I think that that's something that you need to know. It probably doesn't all that often be brought up just in, our casual encounters here and there, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm very proud.
Just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and Happy New Year. Wanted to recognize the Public Works Department. They do a great job. Those guys, the long hours during the flooding event, as well as just getting things done around town. I wasn't a huge fan of the idea of, I knew the purpose of the stop sign at Broadway for child safety, and I'm not a huge fan of it. But when I stopped there this morning, went through there, it's greatly placed. I mean, the kids are having a lot easier time getting across the street there, and they're not piling up over there. I think it's a lot safer route for the kids. So I was, happy about that. It's been effective, and all the work that they're doing around town. I see them up bright and early. I mean, I catch them up on doing road maintenance and stuff like that, striping things and putting up signs, and they're just doing a really good job. So just want to recognize all the guys at Public Works and thank the city staff for all the work they're putting in. Appreciate you guys.
All right, great.
First off, I want to thank city staff for giving us all the information, giving us the tools that we need to do our job up here as a council, you know, on a, not just at council meetings, but in between meetings, liaison, you know, our committees and commissions. I really appreciate the work that staff puts in and, you know, giving us the information we need to be the most effective counselors that we can be. So, and secondly, I want to apologize to Shirley Burke. If I came off as rude, I did not mean to during the public hearing. It's just the question that you asked didn't pertain to that particular public hearing, but I do want to respond to it. There is a traffic circle going in up at the top of River Mill Road and Eagle Creek Highway that will be going in this year, right? Yeah, it'll be going in this year, which will alleviate a lot of the stress from the new homes, the traffic coming through there. So just to get that out there, I do apologize if I came off as rude. That was not my intention. I was just trying to keep the flow going, and I just I appreciate you for that. I want to put out there how much I appreciate the work that our commissions and committees are putting in. A lot of them are shorthanded. They don't have full committees, and they're putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I want to recognize Connie Redmond and Shirley Fox Hames for the work that they do on the DEC. Those two ladies get so much done, and I just really appreciate the energy that they bring. And, you know, like I said, the effort that they put in and the love that they have for this city. So thank you guys. You know, I appreciate all of you and all of the information that, you know, that you guys bring, all of the different personalities and just the different perspectives that you guys bring to the council. And I appreciate that from you. And congratulations, Jonathan. Hopefully you only have to, you know, cover for one week like I did. So.
Man, something's coming on.
All right, you all did a great job tonight, but that said, we just had that major conversation about what the state proposes and what we have to follow. I just want to clarify, I was brought in here as the mayor of Estacada for one reason, for the people of Estacada. And that will always be my first and most important thing, is that I take care of the people here. I don't always agree with the state. I mean, the state is a beautiful state and I love it very much, but it's off kilter right now. And there's a lot of things going on that just aren't right. And there's a lot of things being pushed that aren't right. So I will always put Estacada first. And I just want everybody to know that. I think everybody at this table that you've heard from tonight feels the same way. So know that going forward. Also, city staff, they did a great job during the holiday season. They've done wonderful things, and Public Works was exceptional during the flooding and everything else. And like I said, Jerry, you pulled it off. You did a great job with the Christmas tree lighting, and I'm very proud of this town, and you all did a great job. So that said, we will end this broadcast night, and I will close the city council.